Your sell-through rate and the average sale price that you put into your store has a huge impact on your success. And I'm going to tell you firsthand what I've discovered. So without any further ado, let's go. Welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy. And as I mentioned, what you put into your store has a huge impact on what you get out of it and what you make on eBay. And really, I guess you can apply that to other platforms as well. But this focus right here is on eBay and eBay sales. So I am very alarmed. I'll just tell you that right now. I've had my suspicions. You know, we get on the live streams and we talk to you guys and people saying we had a great Q4. We are still killing it. And that's not been my experience at all. You know, and I'm listing every day. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I believe I'm putting decent stuff into my store, adding good shoes, good different items that I'm selling, actually buying other things other than shoes as well. Things that should be selling and aren't getting anything more than crickets. Now I'm making sales. I'm making sales here and there. Thankfully, my other platforms are kind of bailing me out, Poshmark and Mercari. I'm doing the cross-listing thing. But specifically, I went back and I was thinking last night, when did I shut down my secondary account? So my secondary account, I think the name of the store is Hot Desert Deals. You know, that's the name of it. I mean, no big deal. I'm going to change the store anyway when I go back and try to correct this. But I was selling on that platform, was selling like at first it was just the collectible things that I came across, like the military patches and a lot of the albums and stuff I was putting on that account, and just random like stuff that I didn't want to put on my main account. Okay. And that was fine. I was putting it on that account. And about the 19th of November, I said to myself, you know what? I'm constantly jumping back and forth between accounts. And when I get a notification from, let's say, a return request or a buyer wants to ask me a question on that other account, I can't see the notification because my phone is always tapped into my main account and I'm only going to see notifications from my main account. So I didn't want to have to deal with constantly going in and just checking if I have messages or offers to make on that other account. So I said to myself, why don't I make this easier for myself and move all the merchandise from that other store? I think there's only a couple hundred items on that store at the time. I mean, I blew out a lot of items with auction that you guys were a part of, or some of you were a part of, at least that adventure, at least me telling you what I was doing, but some of you actually bought some of those items. Well, I moved the rest of those items over to my main store. So I integrated my lower ASP, right, my lower sell-through rate items into my main store. And instead of listing new, and I have a ton of records, right? I still have a ton of records I'm sitting on. And the initial intent was to put those items on my secondary store. So now I still have those items. I was listing a lot of those items on my main account. So from the 1st of November, this is the experiment, well, not experiment, this is the data that I pulled, okay? So now we can all agree that Q4 really kind of begins November 1st. I mean, yeah, it is the 1st of October, but people start, once the 1st of November hits, people really start looking at buying stuff for Christmas. But in all honesty, in my opinion, it really begins around Black Friday or the week before, that week leading up to Black Friday, and maybe the week after, where people really start getting their last minute stuff done, and maybe even beyond that. But that even makes this more alarming. So I did a report. So I closed my secondary store down on the 19th of November. That's when I moved everything over to my main store. Okay. Now, my main store from the 1st of November to the 19th. So that's what, 18 days, 19 days of data. Okay, we're counting the 1st. So that's 19 days of data. So during that time period, I made $7,328, 157 items sold, and a $46.68 average sale price. Now, that is including, you guys watched the video, the $70 find sold for $1,800. So That's including that $1,800 3 transaction hit, okay? So now if I remove $1,800 from that, it's around $5,500 and then $35.89 average sale price, okay? That's still not bad. I mean, you're on pace at that point for an $8,000 month, maybe $9,000 month before all your expenses are taken out. I'm operating at like a 50 to 60% margin. So a lot of that's most of that is, coming back to me. Now, if you add in during that same time frame, when I had the smaller store open, I had another $685 in sales and 141 items. A lot of that was because of the auctions that I ran when I blew out the store, but a $4.85 ASP. That's really low, but that's the kind of stuff I had in this other store. Now, I mean, $685, I think I took like $350 after all the fees. That's not anything to laugh at. I mean, it's fine to have that extra money, but I guess what I'm saying is, so I really had about a $6,000 period from the 1st of November to the 18th, I think the 19th of November, okay? Now, running this same report, okay, now on my main account, that's where I moved everything over. Now, you would think from the 19th of November to I ran it through the 8th of December. So you think that would be a busier period where people are really starting to focus on buying stuff for the holidays and this, that, and the other thing. In my opinion and in my experience, that's where Q4 really ramps up. That's the hottest time period for making sales. And from that period, from the 20th really of November through the 8th of December, I made $3,235 in sales, 123 items, and a $26.30 ASP. Okay, same 18 days, 19-day period, same exact number of days. I would argue that if you were to ask me, when would you make more sales? The 1st of November through the 19th of November or the 20th of November through the 8th of December? Historically, and just with common sense, I would tell you the latter, from the 20th of November through the 8th of December is when I would probably do better in making sales. So I went from $7,328 on my main store to $3,235. And if you wanted to exclude that $1,800 lot that I sold, we're talking $5,500 down to $3,250. That's like a 40% drop in sales. Now, if you're looking at the larger number, what I actually did, that's like a 50 to 60% drop in sales. That's alarming, guys, when it's supposed to be busier, if not, the same. It's supposed to be busier during that period, and I dropped. And I didn't add a lot of different stuff. I did my yard sales, grabbed a lot of good things that, I did sell some of them, a lot of them on my main store, and that's what it counts for this here. So what has happened here? What's happened to make this number go from $7,328 to $3,235? And we're comparing apples to apples here. The time period, Q4, I'm not comparing a slow summer sale period to Q4. I'm comparing Q4 data to Q4 data. So to me, what has happened here, I've integrated all the lower ASP selling items, the slower selling merchandise, okay, old records, things like that, into my main store. And I think I absolutely hurt myself. I mean, the numbers don't lie. I hurt myself in doing that. And of course, you guys know this is nothing new. I've made lots of videos where I've tried different things, right? And really, you should never be closed-minded to try new things when you're trying to improve. Now, I guess you could argue, well, $7,328 in a 18, 19-day period, that's not bad, okay? That's not bad. So what are you doing? What are you trying to improve? But see, here's the thing. For me, when I made this change, it wasn't about improving these numbers. It was about improving my ability to handle the other store. And I wasn't really handling it the way I wanted to. And I didn't want that impact of that store people not, getting answered right away and stuff like that, to eventually catch up. And if you have bad metrics on one store, right, where your seller level is going to be like dropped, and I was still top rated at the time and I still am, I don't want it to affect my main store, if that makes sense. I want to be able to focus 100% on every customer message, every request, every sale, every this, that, and the other thing. And it helped. It helped take that burden off of me, right? But didn't help my numbers. And if I could do it back again, do it all over again, I'd go back and just say, forget it. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to keep this smaller account going, because look, I still made a $300-400 in that 2-3 week period. So to me, that's fine. If I have stuff that the very easy stuff to list, by the way, we're talking about albums, LPs, you can make a template and just blow out all kinds of records. It's, to me, probably one of the easiest things, just like DVDs and video games. They are some of the easiest things to list, because I've become very keen on how to grade these things. Of course, I don't play grade them. I just grade them by inspection, real quick inspection, and then I take photos. So to me, it's a very fast process, but it's hurting my main account. So that's what I'm dealing with right now. And again, I go on every live and hearing, hey, we killed it this weekend in sales. We killed it this weekend in sales. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, what are you selling? What is it that you're selling? That is part of it as well. What you're selling. Now, I've introduced this lower ASP stuff, or I'll say crap, to those of you who don't like me using that term. But you know what? I did introduce crap into my main store, and that's why I'm suffering the consequences. But you would think, just on the surface, that okay, you're adding this stuff to your store, you're building the size of your store, because I went from about 500 items to now I'm over 830 items in my store roughly, that you should see more sales numbers. Now my sales are okay. My number of sales per day are around 5, 6, 7 on eBay per day, which is maybe a slight tick down from what I was doing before. So it's not anything that's alarming, right? You may be short a sale or two here a day, but nothing to really alarm you that maybe something's really, really wrong. But definitely the revenue has been really, really wrong. And I'm just wondering to myself, what's going on? So I decided to run these reports, and wouldn't you know it? If we're talking a few $100, then hey, that's not the answer. But look, guys, I've introduced crap into my main store, and as a result, I've lowered my ASP, okay? And I've lowered the number of items that I've sold. I've lowered my revenue, which is the most important. That's how we keep scoring this game of reselling, is our revenue. And I guess the question now is, instead of me sitting here complaining about it, which I'm not, I'm just informing you guys, what am I going to do about it? Simple. I was actually last night at bowling. I bowled probably one of the best series I've bowled in like years. And but I was reading about all this stuff last night between balls, between turns. And I thought, you know what? I need to do this. I need to go in, and I'm going to take my old store. I'm going to put it back into play, okay? I'm going to reopen my old store. It's still going. I still have to pay the store the $21.95 store fee anyway. I'm under contract until April to have that store. So I'm paying for it anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my listings, all my lower price listings under, I think at this point, I'm looking at like under $19.99. Anything that I post lower than $19.99 with the initial sale price, I'm going to move over to that account, and I'm going to only focus on items that have a $19.99 initial sales price. So if the market doesn't support that item being $19.99, it's going on my second store, okay? So I'm not going to inflate an item's price just so I can justify putting it in my main store. I'm going to have two stores running, one for lower price merchandise and the other for my main store, which is the higher end stuff. Now, you might say, well, why don't you just get rid of all the lower price stuff and just focus on the higher ASP stuff? And that's a long-term goal, and that's something that I plan on doing. But I still have lower price things that I can either throw out or I can put on and sell, and they're really quick lists. They don't take me long to list. And it's just going to be that I'm going to have to make more time in the other store and just stay on top of the items that I'm listing, stay on top of customer questions, make sure that everything's handled in that store the same way that my main store is handled, regardless of the fact that I don't get notifications. And so the idea is, by just keeping higher ASP items in my store, right, and quality selling items in my store, my main store, then I'm going to have a higher ASP, I'm going to have a higher sell-through rate, and that's going to tell eBay that this store is in much better position than it was, has much more desirable items than it had, because all the crap is now moved away. And if I don't do good in the other store, I don't care. That's like a gravy count. That's like me putting stuff on Mercari. It's more of a clearance aisle than anything else, right? It's an extension of my main store that doesn't actually affect my main store, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not saying that you guys should do this, and maybe you should wait to see how it affects me. If I come back to you reporting here in a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, that after I've done this, I'm still struggling with sales, then we know that there's something has to be wrong. But the numbers don't lie, guys. So when it's very important, if you're dealing with slow sales and you're just kind of wondering to yourself what's going on, and you're not looking at the numbers, that could be the reason right there, right under your nose, and you're not even taking time to look at it. So take the time, run simple reports. Think of a time when your sales were great, we're fine, okay, we're normal. Run a report. You can go back as far as 2 years now, at least most of us can get that report, and take a period of time where you knew you were doing well. Run that report, get all the data, the number of sales, the average sales price, what did you make, and what did eBay say you made net. Now, of course, they don't know my cost of goods, so that's not always going to be accurate, but it gives you an idea. And then run a report for a period where you know you've been slow and you know you've done everything the same, comparing apples to apples, not apples to oranges, and just see for yourself what your data shows. And I'd love to know, comment down below, let me know if you're having the same situation where your sales aren't what they were and you made some changes to your account that you thought maybe weren't even a big deal and weren't going to negatively impact your account that much. Let me know what your numbers look like if you're dealing with that. Have you fallen off like I've fallen off? I'm talking 40, 50, 60%, depending on what numbers you're looking at. And I don't care what business you're running. If you're dropping that much, we're not talking 10% here. We're talking a lot. That's alarming, guys. And no business can be sustained with that kind of a drop off. So I'm taking action, and I'm taking action today. Now, you guys might be asking yourself, well, how are you going to get all those items over to this other store? That's going to be a lot of delisting, and you have to build listings all over again. Not really, because I'm going to spend about 40 bucks. I think it's like $39.99. I'm going to open up an InkFrog account, or actually go back and reinstate an old InkFrog account that has both accounts attached to it. And you basically delist the item from there, get them all delisted off the main account, and then go back in. The listings are still there, and you just relist them under the different account. I have two accounts tied into it, and it'll move those items to the other account. So if you're considering maybe opening a secondary account, maybe splitting up, maybe niching out in one category on one store and everything else on another store, that's one way you can do it, is get an InkFrog account, link both accounts together, and then you'll have your whole database of listings that you can go in and assign this one to this store, this one to that store. And it doesn't take all that long. It's a very, very fast process. It keeps all your photos, keeps all your descriptions, all your prices, everything. It just moves them over to the next one, right? And it'll take me a few hours to do at the very minimum. It'll take me, some time today, but I believe it's money and time well spent. So guys, do me a favor. If you enjoyed this content, Please, of course, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. If you like the videos, of course, subscribe to the channel so you can see more of it, and hit that notification bell so when we go live, and I promise, guys, that we won't try to go off the rails like we did the last live, I promise. But that was a really fun time that we had on the last live. You're going to be notified when that happens. So guys, this business, I can tell you, the numbers don't lie. And when you make changes to your account and you're seeing things go down and not up, got to run the numbers, and you got to see for yourself. Don't have hunches. Look for yourself to see what the data says. But you know what? Dealing with data on eBay, it's yet how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day, and we will talk to you very soon.